Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Dr. Leslie Koenig joining us from Ketamine Therapy. That's what she does. The name of the company is Waybridge Ketamine Clinics, based out of Omaha, Nebraska, and soon to be Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. So good to be back.
Tell us a little bit about the clinics, what it is you offer, and it's really, to me, I've only learned about this talking to you the past few weeks, but it's like groundbreaking. And I've heard of it in the past. I didn't know as much about it, and I feel like a lot of people may be miseducated on this, but to know that ketamine does wonderful things and it's helping so many people.
Yeah, it really does. So our background is that I am an emergency medicine physician who has opened this IV ketamine clinic. We do everything here in the clinic through an infusion. So it's very safe and monitored setting here in Omaha, Nebraska, right by the Lakeside Hospital. If anyone wonders where in the Omaha location, we're kind of west side.
Okay, great. And how do we find you?
waybridgeclinics.com, or give us a call anytime, 402-965-1371.
Great. What did you want to enlighten everyone with today? What aspect of ketamine therapy did you want to start with first?
Well, I wanted to go into some of the safety measures that we really prize highly here at Waybridge. So as I mentioned, I'm an emergency physician, which means that I've done a large number of sedations. So people come in with a broken arm, or maybe they're an AFib and need to have their rhythm changed, so like getting shocked or being intubated. So some of these big procedures that happen in the emergency room are what we bring into the clinic with that safety in mind. So a lot of patients have said that they will investigate our clinic, and that is a key thing that helps them change their mind about how we do things, is because we have such an eye for safety. And I just wanted to discuss that more about that, because some people may not realize how we are so different in that way.
All right, let's bring it on. Thank you so much. Are you still hearing me and seeing me okay?
Yeah, it's a little choppy, but we can make do.
All right, perfect. Go ahead then. Let's continue.
Sure. So as an emergency doctor, I like to have everything planned out. I have a plan A, plan B, plan C, and I like to have just everything set up for whatever might happen, including the worst case scenario. I let people know often that I'm the worst case scenario doctor. I plan for the worst, but I hope for the best. And so ketamine being a sedative, while being a very, very safe sedative, we want to make sure that we have everything in place for that worst case scenario. And in ketamine's case, the key things are that it can be something that can put you to sleep. So we want to have all the equipment ready, like an anesthesiologist might, or we might have in the emergency room. So when I set the clinic up, between both here in the Omaha location and in Nashville, we have a crash cart because we are all emergency trained, and that's just how our minds work. We think worst case scenario with a crash cart. What does our crash cart have in it? Well, we are constantly monitoring everybody. We have constant IV monitoring, because really we want to make sure that we can keep track of your oxygen levels during the session. And at times for patients, for example, who have CPAP machines at home, we'll have that available for our patients if their oxygen starts to dip as they're going through their session. We also have all the airway equipment that might be needed in case. However, again, ketamine is one of those medicines that is so incredibly safe that it just sits and gathers dust. So I have a bag valve mask, I have all of the intubation equipment, but again, that's probably more for my sense of well-being, because I know that's above and beyond what's truly needed. And in fact, I've had people come work here from urgent cares and say we're better staffed than that. Wow. So I just want to make everybody know that we have a huge attention to safety. And again, I'm today being Veterans Day, I just wanted to highlight as my time in the military, I got used to drilling quite a bit. So I brought that into how we do things here. We run through drills, we run through airway drills, not only with our medical team, but with our administrative staff. Because again, it's just one of those, and I kind of joke, like maybe we have some functional anxiety where we just want to make sure that everything is done correctly, run through, make sure equipment works, test everything out, and make sure we have proper communication between our team members and staff members. so that everything is always by the book with patient safety.
Beautiful, because accidents and things like this happen. Miscommunication, you don't have the right stuff, but this is great to know that you are overly prepared, as any clinic should be. But I clearly, this is what sets you aside. You're training as the emergency room doctor to be this way. I just totally random, but you think, I got to say this, a company like Mattel, huge worldwide company, right, produces toys and stuff, would not be going through what they're going through. Did you hear what happened today with the Wicked dolls?
No,
They have
no.
the whole movie coming out, the big Wicked movie coming out with Ariana Grande. It's all promoting, and they released all these dolls to the stores only to, after, think about how many times, many hands it goes to check that on the box, they have the wrong website. It goes to a porn site instead of the Wicked movie website. They forgot Wicked the movie, and it was Wicked. So now all these dolls,
Oh
this is Mattel, this is
no.
children. If children take their doll home and go to the box, it's a porn site. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, checks and balances, mistakes and errors do happen in the emergency room, in your clinic, anywhere. Like, big company like Mattel, think about how many hands it had to go through and approvals to get it out there. Like, it went that far and nobody noticed the website was wrong. Google it later, but it just goes to show, better be
Oh
safe
my
than
gosh.
sorry. Check, check, check. I mean, just random, but relating to
Yes.
mistakes do happen. So the more you drill, the more you prepare. You
No,
hope.
that's such a great, yes,
These poor kids, yeah. So they're taking
that's
them
such a
off the
great
shelves,
example
but
of why it's so important.
yeah,
Yes.
yep. And we're talking about lice here
Wow.
on the line, and that is serious. And clearly that sets you apart. Now, let me ask you about, I know you're in Omaha and Nashville's just opening, but how is the staff run there, right? Because you can't be in both places at once. So I'm sure you hire experienced, well trained. Could you just let me know that Nashville's just as safe, right?
Oh, yes. So it's one of those things where I don't see the need to lower the bar or the standard. It's one of those things, hire slow, fire fast is one of those concepts when it comes to running a business well. And that's what we want to do here. We're taking our time interviewing each candidate, but obviously making sure that they are properly credentialed
Hmm.
and know the medicine, know not just the medicine, but how it works in clinic in a real life setting. They have the proper training so that everything is done safely, but also with that human touch, where we are hiring people who have the science background, but the mind of a compassionate person as well. So the heart and mind together. And so that's how the Nashville location is also going to be, where they've done their proper study. They have the right mindset, hopefully have some critical care experience, have some experience sitting at the bedside with patients during critical times, because a lot comes up during these sessions. And we want to make sure that that is happening. And I already know our new medical director over there in Nashville, Dr. Kevin Stoper, and he is a emergency doctor as well, knows ketamine in and out, but also has the heart for this kind of work. So we're kind of slowly forming our team, hiring slow so that we can just do it right the first time, you
Got
know.
it.
So
And you
another
mentioned some of
concept,
those
measure
patients.
twice, measure three
Oh,
times, really, and come.
okay. No, you mentioned some of the
Mhm.
patients, and, it's good to have critical care, training. What are some of the things that, are important to, like, that patient who's there doing the treatment? Sometimes what happens when they wake up, or do they need someone to talk to? What happens in the process of waking up?
Well, yeah, I mean that's a huge part of the mental health aspect of it. So a huge part of the waking up is everything okay? Because you can only kind of safely go into the ketamine experience knowing that everything is medically being cared for, and you don't have to worry about, is my blood pressure okay? Is my heart rate okay? A lot of people have a history of panic attacks and anxiety, and a lot of that physical reaction.
Yeah.
And so knowing that when you wake up that you're being properly monitored, and we're watching that for you. You don't have to worry about your heart being safe. You don't have to worry about your breathing being the right level. We are monitoring that for you so you can safely go off into the healing space that ketamine allows. Knowing that, our staff is trained to recognize, what is a little E emergency versus a big E emergency, and having the proper staff for that. And as they're waking up, if there's a mental health issue, we're also trained on how to do that. So knowing the intersection between science, mental health, or medicine, meeting the psychiatric component of it, having people properly trained on the safety of both. So not just bodily, but mental.
Thank you for sharing that. Also, what else do you think is important for us to talk about today? I do want to remind everyone of the website. If you are just tuning in now, this is Dr. Leslie Koenig, and again, it's waybridgeclinics.com. We're talking about the ketamine therapy that she provides in Omaha, Nebraska, as well as in Nashville, and really, putting the patient's health and priority, healthcare, obviously, and that's a priority, and that's first. But overall, the work they're doing is even more so helping you mentally, physically, and spiritually, because this is a time and time proven, what do I say? How do I say it? A time and time proven modality. What's the word I'm looking for here? Help me out, Doc. Um, right? Your treatments,
Mhm.
the therapy, and it's
Yeah,
helping so
it's
many
time to
people.
search the evidence behind it.
Thank you.
Yeah, time and yeah, time has proven it out. The research has proven it out. And just one thing I want to touch on, another key thing, and I'm doing this right now with the Nashville clinic, is people ask, is ketamine legal, or are you doing it in a way that's in line with what the authorities say? And it's like 100%, ketamine is legal. And a funny story is that people just are wondering, how are we operating if we're not legal? And the truth is that ketamine is in every hospital out there. It's a WHO essential medicine, and it is in every hospital, every anesthesiologist. If you go to get surgery, the person doing your surgery likely has known or worked with ketamine. And it's just funny where when I set the clinic up, we have our security measures in place. And I literally asked the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, to come by and review everything. I'm all about doing things by the book, not only here in Omaha, but I'm getting to know the DEA agents over in Nashville. Because again, we want to make sure that we have the proper authorities involved in every aspect of doing this so that we are doing everything by the book and that we're doing everything safely, and we're tracking our numbers correctly, and just being in line completely by the book so that you can feel safe that we are going to be here long term, that we are inviting everyone to come investigate really and just run through. When I had the DEA agents here, apparently that was uncommon, which again, I was like, oh, I just thought it would be normal that if you have a controlled substance in your clinic that you would have the, people who come inspect to come do an inspection. Because again, that's just my mindset is set everything up and then have other eyes on. I want to be, I just, I don't know everything. And so I want to bring in the experts wherever I may have a gap in knowledge. So for example, if I have a gap in knowledge about Nebraska nursing policy, I'll bring in an expert to fill in the gaps in my knowledge as a business owner. Or if I have a gap in my knowledge about, how the DEA wants me to track everything, I just want to, again, make sure my paperwork is on point. And so I'll bring in the expert to come and investigate and evaluate and give us insight onto that. So again, we do things by the book, we do things safely, and we bring in the experts wherever we need to. Because again, we want to make sure that we're doing everything right for our patients, being at the center of that entire safety mechanism.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. And, let me ask, when did, this type of therapy, ketamine therapy, become popular? When did it start? When did they start opening up clinics? Just curious, because I only heard about this recently. So is it something like 10, 20 years ago, or is it really more recent?
The first clinics did actually start opening about 10 years ago,
Okay.
which it was a surprise to me too. I felt a bit late to the game when I learned that. So there were some of those first adopters that opened in those clinics who, and I believe it's because they were very close knit with the researchers themselves and read the research early on, and perhaps had seen some benefit themselves, possibly having provided it as anesthesiologists. So I did start doing it for pain in the ER about the same time. But I hadn't realized the crossover into mental health. I'd only heard about it as a pain modality first, which makes sense because of the way that we use it as a sedative in the ER. There was a little bit of that overlap in my mind, but those mental health benefits I didn't realize until more recently. But you're right. There are other clinics that have been out there doing this for about 10 plus years.
Okay. Thank you. Just had to interject. Sorry. What else did you want to share?
Well, let's see. I think other big questions I get about ketamine are, what do I need to do to prepare? Is there any way that I can do it wrong? And that was a question that I had recently with one of my patients. And I just want to let patients know that there's no way you can do it wrong. In the same way that, if you take a Motrin, you take the medicine and it'll still do its job. So you can get more out of it and go above and beyond when you have that mental health space. So some key preparatory things if you're coming in to do ketamine are to do a good social media detox. And that's another big thing lately with the election was an incredibly stressful
Oof.
time
Mm-hmm.
for news consumers. Yeah, and kind of some people are, very happy about it, but then there's some people are not so happy, and there's the social media aftermath. And
Yeah.
so for everyone's mental health, I would say take a step back from whatever arguments you've gotten into, especially online. It's maybe more of a just public service announcement about the state of your mental health with the news. There's going to be a lot of things changing up here and a lot of concerns. So I would say, as this last week with the election and the fallout, however things shook out for you, whether it's good or bad, I would still just take a step back.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell a lot of my patients that there's like a mental diet as long as like a nutritional diet. And a
Yeah.
mental diet of social media is not good. That is not good brain food. And so that can play negatively into a ketamine session when you are anxious coming in already. You would really want to get set and settled to come into our type of setting. So kind of again, public service announcement just in general. Let's take a step back, calm down, take a few deep breaths, and then re-enter the social media space just with a little bit of mindfulness. So that's a very key thing I have to remind all of my ketamine patients at all times is to be very aware of what their mental diet is. What are you putting into your brain? What is your attention focusing on? Is it very negative? Is it very anxiety provoking? And while that kind of dopamine hits your anxiety to have more answers and more knowledge, it's a bottomless pit. So you're never going to find it with more scrolling. You're never going to find the answers on the next scroll with whatever social media you're on.
I took a 2-month hiatus this summer. It felt so good. I didn't go on, I didn't post anything, and it was just I'm getting texts, are you okay? Are you alive? And I'm like, yeah, just realizing how much when you get that alert once a week, if you have an Apple iPhone, it tells you how much screen time, and it said like it was like, I don't know, 12 hours. And I'm like, what? I've been on my phone 12 hours this week. Like, what? Like, what am I doing? I'm like, yeah, I do my
Yeah.
email tap, but I'm like, whoa. Then you realize you have a problem and it's not good. Yeah, that was a nice break, and I will do it again.
Yeah, it's amazing how much your phone doesn't need you. And when you put it down, that pull towards it can release pretty quickly. Uh, and then if you were to fill that time with all the things that you say you want to do, filling your time with those important things like the exercise you want to do, the time reading a book that you wanted to do, just filling it with those important things first is so, so key. And so, for example, with ketamine, we advise patients to exercise when they're doing the treatment to really start those new lifestyle changes. If you want to start going to the gym some more, when you do your ketamine treatments, that's a great time to start because you can really implement those new habits and continue them with more ease. As they have that lifting of mood, you feel more motivated to go back to the gym, or you feel motivated to go to the grocery store and eat right. And people just start noticing journaling, for example, patients become journalers. So again, there's no wrong way to enter into this medicine. We'll meet you where you're at, no matter what is happening. If you're a highly anxious person and you've done everything that I just said, that's okay. You can still come in and we can do the treatments and you can just see how much you can add to your life going through. So there's really no wrong way to do it, but there are certain ways that you can help the medicine be just a little bit more effective, such as doing that social media detox, adding in the exercise, and giving yourself the time and space to develop those good habits through your session.
Is there any restrictions on what you can eat and what you could drink afterwards or beforehand? Like no alcohol
Mm,
afterwards, or like what are those things that could affect you?
Yeah, I would advise to minimize the alcohol. If someone has a alcohol use disorder, we
Oh.
would want them to not be using during the treatment.
Hmm.
Um, while ketamine can be helpful in many substance use disorders to reduce those cravings, the clinic setup that we have is more supportive of depression, anxiety, PTSD more than substance use.
Okay.
And so if there are any active alcohol users, like a daily use, such as, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus drinks, that will interfere with the medicine. And I've certainly had to tell patients that it would be best if they would go to a treatment program first and then come see us. So, however, if you have your social drinker, I only drink on weekends or I have a glass of wine here and there, that is perfectly fine. But I would recommend to get the most out of the medicine to diminish your use of alcohol.
Increase fluids like water. I mean, stuff like that is going to help you hydrate more, or does that lessen the effect of it?
Oh, I'm a military doctor. I will always tell you to hydrate more. But before the treatment, we do treat it like as if you're going to get your wisdom teeth out, where you want to be fasting and not have anything to eat or drink. So ketamine can cause a little bit of nausea during the session, and so we want to minimize that by having nothing to eat or drink for 4 hours prior.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And for those, we always do a quick little overview. I don't think we did today, but just about some of the people that come to you and some of the things they're suffering with that ketamine could be such a success in helping them. Could you share? I know you mentioned chronic pain, anxiety.
Yes.
What other things?
It really shines with treatment resistant depression and PTSD. So people who have tried 2 or more antidepressants and still are not seeing the results that they are hoping for. And then PTSD, there's a lot of data. When I do the graphs, they really, depression and PTSD mirror each other with how much they drop. And so that's why we have partnered with the VA, and you can go, any veterans can go to their VA, and if they have depression listed as a diagnosis, we can get a referral so that that will be covered by the VA.
Wow, I didn't know that. And here on this Veterans Day, that's beautiful. I didn't know that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was something that we want to implement in Nashville too, because I know there's a large veteran population there as well. And I'm also trying to get in with active duty, so I'm working on it. So check back in often with us, with our social media, with our website, and we'll be hopefully posting more and more there as we get more and more coverage by, say, the VA and hopefully in the future insurance companies.
yay. All right. Yeah, that's another thing because right now, it's mostly out of pocket, right? But you said slowly but surely, right? Are they accepting some insurance, for these treatments for people?
Yes, some insurances, depending, will partially cover. So we'll really work with your insurance company, and we're getting credentialed with more and more, and working on getting our coding and billing, et cetera, right, so that we can have it at least maybe perhaps a hybrid model where you pay a fraction of the cost. We also do financing with Care Credit for anyone who wants to do this but isn't sure or doesn't even want to bill their insurance. We can certainly do that option, which is kind of like a credit card for health purposes.
Got it. Good to know. All right. We still got 4 minutes left in your show. I'm not cutting you short. What else can we enlighten our listeners with today?
Let's see. I think I mentioned the social media. So we have a new YouTube channel where a patient today said, I saw all of your videos. So if anything here I said today interests you, just go to YouTube and just look at Waybridge Clinics, and you will find me talking about ketamine. You'll find our patient testimonials, and they're incredibly powerful. Like, I've seen them multiple times and they make me cry because of how much I have seen this work for patients. It's truly miraculous what's gone on and what ketamine can do for people. And there is hope available. People are afraid to have hope by the time they've tried so many medications for their mental health. They've been suicidal. Maybe they've been hospitalized. I've had plenty of patients who've tried electroshock therapy, who have tried transcranial magnetic stimulation, and then they're afraid to have hope when they come see me, and they'll find improvement here. And if not, we have other things up our sleeve. we're not the end of the road. We have other things in mind that we can really add to whatever treatment you're getting right now, so that you can be free from that depression that's really weighing on you.
Got it. All right. Thank you for that. And by the way, I got to commend you on your services, being it is Veterans Day. Just tell us a little bit about your background and where you served.
Oh, sure. I did 8 years active duty Navy. I started in San Diego at Balboa Hospital, where I did my residency in emergency medicine. So that's where I saw a large amount of not only Navy, but Marines and the veteran population in the San Diego area. And I don't know if you know, but Coronado's there, Special Forces Navy, the Navy SEALs train there. So I would see a number of kids come in from Hell Week. So that was interesting. And then I went to 29 Palms in California, which is a Marine Corps base. But then I deployed to Afghanistan with 2nd MLG in 2013 with a shock trauma platoon. And then I was also in charge of EMS services at Camp Leatherneck. So basically in charge of all the ambulances. So when a mass casualty came in, I was in charge of not only treating them, but transporting them and monitoring all of the corpsmen. And I also had some civilian counterparts with a Green Beret working for me. And then after that was Naval Hospital, Jacksonville, Florida, where I continued working as an emergency doctor in that area.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Is there anything next for you? I mean, now you're opening up the second location. Is there any other plans for you? You're doing so much.
My plan is to get this out and available, to get this covered by insurance, ideally, to get credentialed, to find ways for people to get access to this. My goal is that ketamine will be available wherever you are, because depression is all over the country, and it's not just in big cities with people with money to pay for it. This is such a miraculous, life-changing medicine that I hope to make it more and more available. And that's my vision, is to make it available in every state. Just hopefully in time, you'll be able to have a Waybridge clinics near you, and we'll help you feel better.
Aw, thank you so much again for being here. And one last time, how can we contact you?
Our website, waybridgeclinics.com, or 402-965-1371.
Perfect. Thanks again. Pleasure having you back here. And we'll talk again next week, I guess. And happy Veterans Day to everyone. And one more time again to point out, if you are a veteran, know of a veteran that you say clinically has been diagnosed as being depressed, right? Did you say they can get free treatment?
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. Sorry for the delay, but great having you here. Thank you so much. To all of our listeners, please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.